here, is to believe him. That pardon is always justified, and it's Bonnie's turn.
Pardon is always justified. It has a sure foundation. You do not forgive the unforgivable, nor overlook a real attack that calls for punishment. Salvation does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses which are inappropriate to what is real. Instead, it merely asks that you respond appropriately to what is not real by not perceiving what has not occurred. If pardon were unjustified, you would be asked to sacrifice your rights when you return forgiveness for attack. But you are merely asked to see forgiveness as the natural reaction to distress that rests on air and thus calls for help. Forgiveness is the only sane response. It keeps your rights from being sacrificed. Interpretation.
Interpretation. Is there some particular sentence? Like, if pardon were unjustified, what he says, salvation rests on the function of forgiveness, remember? So he's saying, this idea of forgiveness, the whole plan of salvation rests on this function of forgiveness. So he says, now if this whole salvation plan, salvation does not lie in being asked to make unnatural responses to which are inappropriate to what is really saying. This whole plan of salvation isn't asking you to forgive what is really an attack on you. If it did, it would be asking you to sacrifice your rights of counterattack. So that's what this is saying. If pardon were unjustified, meaning it's not appropriate, you would be being asked to sacrifice your right to counterattack, because you've been attacked. Does that make sense? Did I?
Yes, it does.
That's why, remember, he said that there's only two appropriate interpretations of what a brother does. They're either giving you love or they're calling for help.
Yeah.
That establishes your real identity. If you see that. Now, when we get into this, I know I'm right about anger, all it is I'm not acting like my real identity. I'm acting like my ego. And that's the whole salvation plan. Now, I need to, if I want to wake up, which is saving myself from my ego dreams, I need to shift to my salvation plan being the one he tells me I am, and stop being this little vulnerable victim who wants to counterattack and not take on their function, right? Does that make sense? So what he's trying to say is, I'm not asking you to do something that's not justified. It looks like it in your dream. I'm asking you to forgive real things, which isn't really fair for me to ask you to do that. That wouldn't be fair for you to return something that isn't appropriate. But he's saying, no, I'm asking you to do what's justified for both you and them. Because that last sentence, this giving forgiveness is the only sane response. It keeps your rights from being sacrificed. Meaning it keeps your rights as a son of God from being sacrificed from your awareness. If you respond any other way, you'll never know who you are. Because your believing attack is justified says you're vulnerable. You're not a part of God. You're not a son of God playing a part in the plan of awakening, right?
The ego would have you believe that you are sacrificing your rights.
It's right. Your right to attack.
Yeah.
You're sacrificing your right of vengeance. Yeah. And that's why he's saying, no, actually, you're keeping your right of love, which is your true identity if you give forgiveness. That's why it's totally justified if you want to wake up.